Fantastic. I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Mohan. I'm the head of the Israel Trade Office in San Francisco. I don't know if I got a chance to work with most of you, but we're based in San Francisco. We cover the West Coast and we help Israeli companies penetrate the market here. We had a very interesting meeting with Liz. She's the head of the AutoTech Council, and we thought it will be a great opportunity for you guys to meet her and learn more about their activities here on the West Coast and in the US in general. I think they have lots of tools for you to utilize in order to work in the US with OEMs and tier 1 and tier 2 companies. And Liz, the stage is yours.
Okay, great. Right. So a little bit of background on the AutoTech Council. It's about 10 years old now. It was started by some of the car makers who were just 10 years ago starting to pay attention to software developers, internet companies, telcos, thinking that maybe they needed to increase their engineering expertise away from 100% mechanical engineering and include some software engineers. And so Ford built an office. It currently has about 450 people. Toyota has an office here. Mercedes, Volkswagen, Honda has an R&D facility. Tesla, of course, started here. NIO is out here. Lucid is out here. So it's a kind of an unexpected place for the car makers to be physically present. And it's a change, a traditional change. Usually it's a Detroit for the kind of strategy and planning and partnership stuff, and then more southern United States for the real estate, cheaper real estate and labor for the manufacturing. But they were adapting and trying to move with the times, and the number of car makers in the Silicon Valley has just continued to grow. And sometimes it's a very small office, like Shanghai Auto just has 3 or 4 people mostly doing investment work. But sometimes it's a huge facility like the 450 people working in Ford. They do everything from ventures and partnerships to startups and R&D, and they have an accelerator program. So what we do at the AutoTech Council is we get these guys together once a month and we look at startups. And that's pretty much what we've been doing for the past 10 years. We spent the first 8 years doing it in person and then the last 2 years doing it virtually. We do have quite a few members from Europe as well. So we had been doing dual access meetings before the pandemic. A lot of our German and French colleagues would Skype in, what we were using Skype before, to the meetings and still be able to hear the startup pitches. But we generally meet the second Thursday of the morning in Pacific time. We generally run 10 to 15 startup presentations. Everyone gets a good solid 10 minutes to make their pitch and another 5 minutes or so to take questions. There's no cost to be one of these pitching companies. We like to have companies who are post idea stage, probably have some funding, some substance behind them, but they haven't already made the rounds, and a lot of these guys haven't heard of them yet. So maybe a Series B type of company is a sweet spot. And then of course, once you have your first deal and you've done some real product development and you've road tested, you're welcome to come back and say how it went and if you're ready to scale. But generally speaking, companies that come in and pitch do not come in and pitch again. So it's a one introduction thing. And we don't get involved in helping you follow up or putting deals together. It's really just the introductions. And then for the members, we also have, if they miss a meeting, they can go into our library and see the presentations in a library, and we help them with networking. And if they say, hey, I missed that company who was speaking on LiDAR, we help them get in touch with you. So it's really, the members pay an annual due, and we have about 50 or 60 members right now. So with that, go ahead and mic up if you can and ask some questions. I will do a screen share and walk you through some of the very tangible ways that you could take advantage. No questions.
Liz,
And
I'm going to ask,
also,
Liz, excuse me, Daniel Schwartzberg from Valence. I'm guessing that this is not applicable to us then. I mean, we're a post-IPO company selling, tens and tens of millions of dollars of revenue each year. I presume that we're too far down the line to be applicable for this.
well, I would say if you have new technology that these guys haven't seen, then there's still a spot in our introduction cycle for you.
Okay.
So, and I will, here we go. I got it right here. So someone tell me if you're seeing a big web page that says AutoTech Council.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. I'm not seeing what you're seeing. So this is the AutoTech Council website, autotechcouncil.com. And if you scroll down about, well, so these are, okay, so back to the meeting. So generally speaking, we introduce between 10 and 15 startups or new products and services on a monthly basis. Most of our meetings are members only, so no one can register to attend. It's just the members in the room. And the startups or the products go through an application process, and I'll show that to you. But occasionally we have meetings that have a theme. So what you'll see here, our next meeting in February, the theme is as seen at CES. So if there's a technology that was promoted at CES that we got to see, but our members hadn't seen yet, then they would be a fit for this agenda. Our April agenda is autonomous vehicles. So if there's a technology out there that our members haven't seen yet, or a company who's working on autonomous vehicles and they would fit for that agenda, then we can put them on the agenda for the April meeting. The March meeting is just for startups, and it would be just a kind of just for members, and it's a startup review. And then about halfway down the page, you have this get involved section. So this is really well, I will spend the most of my time. So requesting invitations is pretty simple. You want to join our mail list. We have 2 or 3 different mail lists. One is to be invited to meetings. The other is to pay attention to our marketing opportunities. So if you want to apply to speak when the time is right, or if you want to come and be part of our science fair, which I'll get to, you would join our marketing list. So that's up to you. Speaking opportunities, I'll click on it. There's an application button, but there's so for example, on our April meeting on autonomous vehicle, the agenda will have a keynote, an analyst, a panel, some startup pitches, some technology pitches. There will be demo tables, and we will also be using our meeting service, our Matchmaker meeting service. I know that the Israeli community knows and loves the one-on-one meetings. So that's also something that our community really appreciates. So membership, generally not a fit. Membership is limited to companies who are acquiring new technologies, whether that's M&A or buying from new companies or investing. So that's generally not a fit for the earlier stage companies. Matchmaker meetings, let me go to that at the end of this. Demo opportunities. So generally speaking, when we have our meetings, they're dual access. So in the room, we have the content, we have the networking, we have the food and coffee, but we also have round cocktail tables scattered around the room with signs on them. And so company A will be in the back of the room and have all of the opportunity to draw attendees to their table and talk about what they want to talk about. So if your sign says, new LiDAR technology, then the 100 people who are in the room who are interested in new LiDAR technology will find you before the meeting, during a break, after the meeting, over lunch. And that extends to online as well. Generally speaking, the demo opportunity on the online side, if you can't make it to Silicon Valley and you don't have someone in the room to man a table, we do that in Zoom using breakout rooms. So you can, make a pitch and say, hey, if you want to talk to me about this, join me in my breakout room. Host a meeting, generally not a fit, but all of our meetings are hosted by our members in Silicon Valley. So we'll be meeting at NVIDIA, and then we'll be meeting at Ford, for example. And sponsorship, probably not a great fit, but an option if you guys have a product launch or if you were doing a cocktail at CES and you wanted to invite the AutoTech Council membership, or if our meeting on autonomous vehicles in April, if you wanted to add your brand to that, you could sponsor. In fact, we have a couple of government groups who are sponsoring a pavilion at our April meeting. So I'd expect to see 5 or 10 Canadian companies with demo tables at the April meeting. So again, there's an application for sponsorship in the different levels. The sponsorships run between $5,000 and $20,000, depending on if you want your own meeting or if you want to contribute to an existing meeting. So let me dive into the Matchmaker a little bit. So the Matchmaker is, we do only run these every 6 months because it's a lot of work for our members. Ford commits to taking 20 or 30 meetings when we run these Matchmakers, and it takes about 10 days or so for them to go through all of the requests and do a little bit of due diligence before they accept a meeting. But then during the 2 days of Matchmaker, whether they're doing it on site or online or both, generally speaking, we do 1 day of each. Each time we do Matchmaker, they're probably taking 20 meetings, and that each one is a 10 or 15 minute. For the on-site ones, there's literally a bell that goes off every 10 minutes and they have to wrap up their conversations and move to another table. So it's a lot of work for them, but they get a lot of curated introductions, and then they can really move the ball forward quickly. So that's why they like it. It's great for new technologies and the younger companies who haven't had a chance to sit down with Ford yet, for example, or Honda or Denso or Alpine, because they get to see right away if there's possible interest. So the first thing they do as a young company is build a profile page and make a pitch. And if then they look, okay, who might be interested in this? I'm going to send it to Continental, or I'm going to send it to Valeo. And then Valeo reads the pitch and says, yep, this is something that I want to learn more about. And then the system sets up a time, either you're both in person or you're both online, and it manages your schedule for you. And then that's kind of where our job stops. You guys have your 10 or 15 minute meeting, and then it's over to you to do all the, I would say, heavy lifting, but pushing the ball forward from there. But really, it's for our members, it's a great way to get a handful of really curated companies into their pipeline. And same thing for the younger companies. The Matchmaker is included in membership for our members, and there's generally a $2,000 fee for companies who aren't members to participate. So I'll look at here in the calendar section on our website. If I go to the meetings tab, there's a button at the top for past meetings. And then I can scroll you to the last time we did. So April last year. No, that we didn't do the Matchmaker that time. So April 2020. April 2020. Oh, I'm not finding, I'll do April. Here we go. Connected cars in the passenger economy. So April 2019. So you can see on our website, the content from that particular meeting is there, including an attendee list and the summary page. I'll just click on the attendee list for you so you can see who, sort by company, who was there. So companies that you might recognize: AGC is Asahi Glass, Icene is a Japanese T1, the Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi Alliance. And I don't know how many people it was here, 243 attendees at that point. So this kind of information is available both for our past meetings, but also for our future meetings. So if I go back to the meeting calendar and I look at the next meeting in April, I can look at the attendee list. This is good because if you're flying in or you want to send somebody, you look at the attendee list first and say, are my potential customers in the room? So what I know for February 10th is that these companies have already registered. So 2 people from Ford, 2 people from Hyundai, 3 people from Nissan, so Toyota. So looks like about 50 people registered so far, and that meeting is a month away. So, and this is a live list. So if you register, your name, your company and position will show up on here as well. So that will help you decide if you want to buy a ticket to this particular meeting and be there. What other? Oh, and then of course our member list that also may help you make a decision on whether to participate. But we put our OEMs first, and you can scroll through the member list as well. And then there's one more kind of marketing opportunity that I'll flag to you, and it's called our science fair. And the science fair is, like I said, we do the Matchmaker twice a year, once in April and once in October, every 6 months, because it's a lot of work. It's great, but it's also a lot of work. So the science fair is and this is an actual picture of the science fair in the background. It's an actual hands-on, engineering focused, very geeky environment. And if you've been to an American science fair, and I don't know, maybe you have them as well in Israel, but as someone who's in one of their last years of high school, they get an opportunity generally to build a science project, whether it's an exploding volcano or a solar car, and show it to the rest of the world. And that's what these guys are doing. You'll see NVIDIA has a table. They're not showing an existing NVIDIA product. They're showing how maybe one of their NVIDIA boards is plugging into a startup, and 1 + 1 = 3 because they've created something else. And it's a very hands-on. The people that are walking around are the R&D guys. They are the engineers who are looking for solutions. And it's also open to the press, so you don't want to put anything on your table that's confidential. But it's a very, I would say, very hands-on, engineering-oriented way to get to, and it's only 3 hours, but you get a lot of peanut butter and chocolate mixing into an excellent Reese's candy. So that's this is the date for 2022, October 13 and 14. And like I said, on site in Silicon Valley on the 13th, and then on the 14th, the demos move online and the matchmaker meetings are online. So that's where I would say, if you're a later stage company, or if you have a new technology, even the tier ones, like I said, NVIDIA has a table. You can see Sekisui there. Our members almost all take tables at this, because Denso also has technology that they want to show everybody. And the AutoTech Council doesn't have a way for them to, do a startup pitch. So they use the science fair, and then Honda will walk around, or NVIDIA will walk around and look at the new Denso stuff, and they can do their matching that way as well. So a couple of ways to get involved in the 2022 science fair. Exhibits, even if you can't be on site, you can still exhibit, and then the matchmaker meetings. So I would say probably 4 ways that you guys want to think about getting involved. Of course, you should go in and sign up for either of those subscriptions, either the invitations or the marketing list. But attend a meeting if you're in the Valley. It's just great networking. You're just going to meet a lot of interesting people, even if the topic isn't perfect for you. We're doing a meeting on batteries, and you are a car sharing platform. So it's not going to be the right topic, but it will still be, as you could tell by looking at the attendee list, still going to be interesting people. So well worth the $200 attendance fee to join that meeting. So join the meeting, grab a demo table in the room if the topic is right, and that's a virtual room or an in-person room. So we're doing autonomous vehicles in April. If you have a technology that's interesting for autonomous vehicles, grab a demo table, put a sales guy there, and have them work the room, if you will. Use the matchmaker when we have it. So again, that's April or October. And the matchmaker isn't necessarily tied to a topic. It's just that we do it after our biggest meeting in April and after our science fair. So if you have a reason that Honda should be talking to you, then the matchmaker is probably a good investment. And then maybe sponsorship, depending on, you know, where you are. If you're trying to do a launch and you need a lot of attention or that. So I think those are probably the 4 ways you should be thinking about it. And again, on the homepage, there's a section called Get Involved, and there's descriptions and applications for all of those things. So, questions?
Guys, feel free. It's a small kind of like a meeting. You can ask any question that you have for Liz.
So I'll take the opportunity. This is Ross Pellet from Sky. I joined 5 minutes late, sorry. Do you have a plan anything for build implementations and for future vehicle standards? I mean, do you have in plan in your roadmap something in that sense?
So we don't get involved in any technical stuff. So no standards, no partnerships, no investing. We really are responsible for introductions, discovery, making sure that our members are being introduced to all of the new things that they really don't want to miss anything. So they have a lot of tools that they use. They might have a ventures team out there scouting and looking for startups as well, but their AutoTech Council membership is one of the tools that they have. And this is just for finding new technology. So they have other things that they do for standards. So that said, of the meetings, so if we go into the calendar section and look at past meetings, you can see some of the topics. So in December, we did mobility infrastructure. So that was the kind of companies that we looked at there were street lights, parking. I think there was a lot of micro mobility management and fleet management and services. But if you're interested, you can click on that meeting and look at the agenda or look at the attendee list. And you can see who was there. You can look at the agenda and see what we talked about. So multimodal traffic management, road and telecom infrastructure, and then pitches on these technologies, HD mapping, traffic management. So I
got my answer.
Okay, so we do meetings on specific topics about 4 times a year. And again, if you go into our history, you can see what the topics have been. We can't tell you in advance what the topics will be for next year, because it's the sponsors and the members who come to us and say, hey, we'd really like to have this topic. But we do, just as a quick look, so we did mobility infrastructure, we did long haul last year in Q4, batteries and mobility, last mile transport, transportation as a service, mapping and localization. So this is where the sponsorship comes in as well. If Denso comes to us and says we want to sponsor a meeting on charging infrastructure, then we will have a meeting on charging infrastructure.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
All right. So applying to speak is quite easy. It's free. There's an application on the website. And then I think in the application, it says which agendas are currently we're recruiting for. And then you can also put yourself in the bucket of just think about me for the future for any given topic. And right now we're recruiting for autonomous vehicles, and I think we're doing sensors later on in the year. So new sensor technology.
Fantastic. So first of all, I think, Karine, you can share it with more companies that you work with that didn't join this join this meeting. And Liz, I think that was super helpful, and everything that you're doing I think is priceless for companies in general, and I think for Israeli companies, because we have hundreds of companies in Israel with solutions for the automotive sector. So
Right.
personally, I want to thank you for joining this morning and for your time. And Karin, thanks for inviting the companies, and for everyone for joining.
Thank you.
And I think we can wrap it up, right? Karin, you want to
Great.
add anything before we close the call?
No, it's fine. If there are no more questions from the Israeli companies, if questions raised, I will send them to you. Obviously, I will gather them.
Fantastic.
I'll repeat that we meet every month. So if anyone's doing a trip through the Silicon Valley for their fundraising or their partnership stuff, come to a meeting. If it's open to the public, you're welcome.
Liz, where are you holding the meetings in Silicon Valley?
So like I said, they're at our member facilities.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think the next one will be at Bosch.
Bosch, all right.
And then one after that will be, if NVIDIA is open by April, it'll be at NVIDIA.
All right.
So
Till now,
right
you did
now
everything virtually? Everything was virtual till now?
no, we've been doing dual access meetings for the last 6 months.
Okay.
So the last one was at NTT hosted us and at their facility at Plug and Play. So Plug and Play is open for
Yes, they are.
visitors. And,
I met everyone at CES, so they're good with in person.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. All right, thank you so much. Any questions
pleasure.
before we close? All right, so good evening in Israel, and have a good day, Liz.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye. Thank you everyone
Goodbye.
for joining. Bye, Karin. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.